Is Danjuma really now a Tottenham player? Has that happened? Is it no to Everton, off to Tottenham, and the deal was hijacked in the end?
Yeah, well, I'm loath to use the phrase done deal again when it comes to Arnaut Danjuma, but certainly the information that I got last night was that the medical at Tottenham has been passed. We should expect a formal announcement today. Same deal that Everton were making with Villarreal, a straight loan deal until the end of the season. No option to buy. We know there is a big release clause in Danjuma's contract, so that could come into play in the summer. Everton still a bit baffled and bewildered by all this. I think baffled and bewildered, probably two words that sum up the Toffees right now. They were expecting Danjuma to turn up for training yesterday. He didn't. They started to smell a rat. The medical, as you've already talked about this morning, Jim, was done at the weekend. But clearly he'd had the tap on the shoulder from Tottenham. And can you really blame a player joining Tottenham and not Everton?
Well, it depends, actually, because is it a Conte signing? Or we've got another Jed Spence situation going on? Because he's not going to play ahead of Son, Kulusevski or Richarlison, is he?
I think Paratici has led the charge on this one, so I'd imagine that Conte is in favour. But it's a really good point you make, actually, because the reason that Danjuma wants to come back to the Premier League is because he wants playing time. He wants to showcase himself and get, obviously, a permanent deal in the summer. Now, clearly, Harry Kane is going to start every game. Son, despite the fact he's been in no form at all this season, starts every game. Kulusevski, as you say, has become a really important player for Spurs. And they've got Richarlison coming back to fitness as well. So they've got 5 players now, 4 of them probably vying for 2 positions because, I say, Kane's position is set in stone. So interesting to see if he can force his way in.
Okay. Gary O'Neill down on the south coast. One thing Gary needs is reinforcements. I hope he's going to get them. Is he going to get them?
Yeah, he certainly is going to get them. Jim Bournemouth and Bill Foley, the new owner, making true his pledge. He said they'd be busy in this window. Busy they are. I saw Dongo Watara make his debut, having signed from Lorient at the weekend. I was quite impressed with him.
Played well.
Assist for the Bournemouth goal. Yeah. I thought he was lively. Yeah, they've got Nicholas Jackson coming in from Villarreal. They've beaten Southampton to his signature. That again will be a £21 million move. And another shrewd piece of business, Mateus Vinha. He's a Uruguayan international left back from Roma. He's agreed a loan deal until the end of the season. Plus Darren Randolph coming in to provide a bit of experience in terms of the goalkeeper. So that's 4 in. I would expect at least 2 more for Bournemouth between now and the end of the window. They're giving themselves a chance.
That is good. I'm pleased about that. Because, to be honest, Simon, in all seriousness, Gary O'Neill has kept his counsel about this. He needs reinforcements. If you get the new owner coming in, Bill Foley, and saying, yeah, it's great to be here and I'm pretty sure we can survive in the Premier League, on what do you base that? The onus is on Foley to provide for Gary.
Well, he's kept his counsel in the media. And we don't know what he said behind the scenes. If he's got anything about him as a manager, he will have identified players that he wants and he will be imploring his owner to give him some tools to help him get a situation resolved, because Bournemouth are now in the bottom 3. They're in decline. They have been in decline since he was given the job. I very much like Gary O'Neill. I think he's got a hell of a task on his hands, and I think Bournemouth will get relegated. But notwithstanding that, Bill Foley has to come to the party, and it shouldn't need to be in the public domain. And that's the point that I think that Scott Parker should have made and should have kept on making in private, but never in public, and never questioning those that ultimately keep him in a job.
Yeah. You can use him Crystal Palace for us today, Alex, because it's been quiet there. And I was thinking Vieira would want business done, right?
Yeah, I mentioned this on my transfer notebook on the talkSPORT website yesterday. Vieira, I'm told, getting a bit frustrated at Palace about the lack of options, the lack of new additions. You look at the teams around Palace in the table. I don't think they're under threat of relegation, but a lot of the teams in that bottom half are spending money. Palace haven't done that. Anton Semenyo is a player who has attracted the interest of a lot of Premier League clubs. Bournemouth had a couple of bids for him, rejected by Bristol City last week, and we hear today that Crystal Palace are now considering joining that party. He's a player they've been tracking, actually, Semenyo, for some time, so that one could well move. And another transfer that is happening, this time it involves Arsenal. Cedric Suarez on loan to Fulham. I think that's quite a good addition for Marco Silva. Played under him at Sporting Lisbon. That will be a loan deal. Again, no option to buy until the end of the season.
Okay.
Is it unrealistic to just ask Crook, Palace looking at, if you want a player to sign and you want to get him on board and you go and talk to him as a manager, Vieira's only got 18 months left on his contract, hasn't he?
Yeah, the Vieira situation is interesting because I was actually told, and maybe Simon can shed some light on this with his Palace connections, at the end of the season, maybe the Palace owners weren't quite as happy with the job that Patrick Vieira did last season as maybe we were thinking from the outside looking in, and the fact they haven't really backed him in the window. Yeah, possibly all is not perfect behind the scenes, should we say?
Simon's got no contacts at Palace. They don't like him.
No, they don't like him.
Nobody likes me.
Well, they do.
Carl Foch likes me.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.